Hello and welcome to Empire of the Sun YouTube channel. Here is a Christian history quiz with 20 main questions. Every other question has a bonus question. That's the odd number questions. You get 2 points for each main question that you get right, and then one for each bonus. That means there's 25 points per round because there's 10 questions per round. Then I will give you the answer to that, which means there are 50 in total. And as it is a pub quiz, I have myself a whiskey and Coke. Feel free to get whatever you want to drink. Send someone to get the drinks while someone gets a pen and paper, and we shall then crack on. Just to say, whilst you're looking for those things, I know right at the beginning of this channel, back in October, I said I was going to do pub quizzes and Christian heavy metal and loads of things, evangelicalism, Latter-day Saint, theology, bit of Joanna Southcott, and then ritualism. What I found over time is that I've majored on 3 or 4 of those, and so Christian heavy metal and also pub quizzes have taken a bit of a back seat. So this week I have decided to change that. So a couple of days ago, I put up a heavy metal theology video on the band called Stairway with an album called No Rest, No Mercy from 1993. Go back and watch that. What I would encourage you is, look, I know this channel can seem like it's a bit of a strange mixture of a bit over there, a bit over there, a bit over there, but actually it all ties together because they all have similar themes of holiness and who is Christ and all of that. And we don't have to agree with all these people, but what we can do is actually pay attention to what they say. I'd just like to say there's one other thing in the offing, and that is I'm decided the other week to start doing a big long chunk that gives an introduction to all of the things that I'm doing. So I'm basically doing 83.5 or so minute summaries of certain topics and people so that we can actually begin to grasp a bit more about British history. And the hope is that once all 80 exist, that we will then be able to go, you'll be able to go and download them, watch them and listen to them. They don't actually have my face on them. They're a bit more podcasty, but actually 4 hours or so of just listening and grasping all about British and English religious history. So let's get on with the quiz and round one, which is questions 1 to 10, and then I will give you the answers to those, and you will have a score out of 25 points. So question number 1 is, what was the small printed certificate Joanna Southcott gave to her followers as a sign that they were among the sealed of the Lord? And because this is a odd number question, you can then have the bonus for 1 point, which is what biblical book is especially important for the idea of those people who are being sealed. So you get 2 points for the main question and then 1 as the bonus. Question number 2, which Anglican priest is especially associated with the field preaching and class meetings and the rise of early Methodism? Question 3, what issue lay at the centre of the 1966 public clash between Lloyd Jones and Stott? That's Martin Lloyd Jones and John Stott. And then as the bonus, in what city did that take place? Question number 4, what name is given to Bebbington's 4-part definition of evangelical religion? Question 5, in Latter-day Saint belief, who was the heavenly messenger linked to the golden plates in the Book of Mormon? And then as the bonus question, in what year was the Book of Mormon first published? Question number 6, which evangelical holiness movement became associated with higher life and the victorious life? Question number 7, which larger than life Anglo-Catholic priest is especially associated with the building of St. Agatha's? And then as your bonus for question number 7, in which city is St. Agatha's? Question number 8. What 19th century Anglican term is used for the recovery or intensifying of ceremonial worship? Question number 9. Which four emphases make up Bebbington's famous definition of evangelicalism? And then, as an extra bonus question for 1 point, what is the historian Bebbington's first name? And the last one for round 1 is question number 10. Which 20th century Anglican evangelical leader spent 25 years as rector at All Souls, Langham Place? So we have reached the end of round 1. It's nice and short, and then hopefully we will then go on to the answers. So question number 1. What was the small printed certificate of Joanna Southcott gave us the followers as a sign they were among the sealed of the Lord? And that is the Southcott seal in the Bible book that it comes from. For your bonus point, is the book of Revelation. Now, you probably have the Southcottian seal or Joanna's seal or any of those things. Be quite generous to yourself. If we know what you're talking about, then we know what you are talking about. Question number 2. The Anglican priestry is especially associated with the field of those preaching classes, preaching in fields and the class meetings, and the rise of early Methodism is, of course, John Wesley, and I did a video on him as well. Question number 3, with the bonus question, is what issue lay at the center of the 1966 public clash between Stott and Lloyd Jones? And it was that idea of whether evangelicals should stay in things like the Anglican Church or they should leave them. Should they stay or leave these mixed denominations? Some of them had, the ones that had evangelicals and then people that didn't hold to evangelicalism in them. And there is the city that was in for a bonus point is actually London. So question number 4. I've put his name there. I think I took that out of the main question. What name is given to Bebbington's 4-part definition of evangelical religion? And that is actually called Bebbington's quadrilateral, or the quadrilateral, or the evangelical quadrilateral, something like that. Question number 5. In Latter-day Saint belief, who was the heavenly messenger linked to their golden plates and those appearings to Joseph Smith and the sort of discovery and writing of the Book of Mormon? That's the angel Moroni. And then for your bonus point of 1 point is the Book of Mormon was published in 1830. Question number 6. Which evangelical holiness movement is associated with the higher life and the victorious life, and often also the ladder? And that is the Keswick movement. So that was for 2 points. Question number 7, with your bonus question. Which larger than life, and actually physically larger than life, as well as in character, the Anglo-Catholic priest associated with St. Agatha's is, of course, Robert Dolling. And St. Agatha's is beautiful and worth going to see. Although it is now a Roman Catholic church, it is in the city of Portsmouth on the coast in the south of England. And then what 19th century Anglican term is used for that recovery of and intensifying of ceremonial worship? The answer there is, let's keep that on the screen while we do that. The answer there is ritualism. And you'll see I've got a whole section where you can look about that, which for emphasis make up Bebbington's famous definition of evangelicalism. Now, I've put them as conversion, Bible, cross, and activism. You can have crucicentrism instead of the cross because it means the same thing, but it's conversionism, biblicism, crucicentrism. I knew that would happen. Crucicentrism and activism, but it is the idea that you must be converted, how central Scripture is, that the cross is what the sort of central moment of Christ paying for your sins, and then activism, that it actually changes your life rather than just you carry on as it were. And Bebbington's first name for your bonus point is David. So well done if you've got that correct. And then the last question in this round: which 20th century Anglican evangelical leader, spent 25 years at All Souls Langham Place as rector. That is John Stott. I think he was there for a long time before that as curate and then stayed as sort of rector emeritus um, up until quite maybe 2011, when it's probably around the time that he died. So let's go to there, add up your scores, see what you got out of 25. And we enter round two, which is question 11 to 20. But actually, before we get there, what I would say is as this channel grows and hopefully it continues to do that, what I want to do is I want to do these as, going forward, either live on YouTube or in Zoom or StreamYard or somewhere like that, as a where we can all get together and do them maybe every so often as a group of people. So if you're interested in that, then please do subscribe to the channel. Also like this video, that would really help. And if you've got any ideas of what I could do going forward, although my speciality is already quite broad, do let me know. I do enjoy interacting with you all. And let us get on with round two. So, in the Southcottian movement, what was the name of the promised figure that Joanna Southcott claimed that she would bear? So that would be for your 2 points, and then for your bonus point, from which book of the Bible does that name usually come in this discussion? So, which book of the Bible is that name of this promised figure from? Maybe an extra bonus point if you can get chapter and verse. What term is used for belief in a coming divine transformation of history, often linked to the 1,000 years of Revelation chapter 20? Question number 13. What phrase is commonly used for an Anglo-Catholic priest working sacramentally and pastorally among the urban poor? And then for your bonus point for that one, I think this is the hardest question, but I thought I would give you something difficult. Which two words or phrases best describe the two sides brought together in the main phrase of the main question? Maybe give you a few more seconds on that one. I think that one's quite difficult. So, question 14. Which Victorian ritualist priest is especially associated with St. Peter's London docks? And just to add, whilst you're still thinking about that question, I'm wearing my warning may start talking about history top. And what that normally means is that I should have done washing a while ago and I'm running out of clothes. So I'm either going to have to do some washing or I'm going to end up wearing the clothes that should already be in the washing machine. Right. Question 15. What was the sealed collection of prophecies associated with Joanna Southcott to be opened in a national crisis? And as the bonus for that one is, how many bishops were supposed to be present when it was opened? Now, I may not have said that in a video yet, but I've certainly saying that in a video coming up. So that might be something, if you don't know about Joanna Southcott, that we don't know already. Question 16. Which major 20th century British evangelical preacher was widely known as the Doctor? Question 17. What Protestant movement is often described as stressing conversion, biblical authority, the cross, and activism? It's almost like I'm writing this quiz to see if we can answer similar questions in a different way. And the bonus question for this one, for question 17, is which 18th century revival figures are especially associated with its early growth in Britain? And if I were you, I'd be thinking of two names at that point. Question 18. Which 19th century Church of England movement associated with Keble, Pusey, and Newman tried to recover Anglicanism's Catholic identity? That is your question 18. And question 19. Which American religious founder is associated with the first vision, the Book of Mormon, and the beginnings of the Latter day Saint movement? And I've definitely helped you in this one because the bonus question is in LDS tradition, what year did Moroni first appear to this gentleman? And question 20. What phrase can be used for theology shaped by endurance or under severe pressure? So, what phrase can be used for theology shaped by endurance under severe pressure? Now, I've called that something in my videos, and I'm about to start calling it something else. So, I will explain that when we get to the answers. So, here we go. So the first one is the Southcottian movement, the name of the promised figure that Joanna Southcott claimed she was going to give birth to as a 60-something-year-old virgin is called Shiloh, and that is from for your bonus point. So Shiloh's worth 2 points, and the bonus point is it's from the book of Genesis. It's actually Genesis chapter 49 and verse 10. So the term that's used for that belief in that sort of coming divine transformation of history that's often linked to the 1,000 years of Revelation in Revelation 20 is millenarianism. So question 13 is that the phrase that's commonly used for the Anglo-Catholic priest working sacramentally and pastorally among the urban poor is called a slum priest or a Victorian rich list slum priest, I often call them. And then these two words you've got, you need to have this kind of two things. You've got the urban mission as one thing, the Catholic churchmanship. So it's a Catholic movement. The priest himself is has a sort of Catholic view of sacraments. So it's Catholic churchmanship and urban mission. If you've got anything like that, then I think you should get the bonus point. Question 14. The person associated or the priest associated with St. Peter's London Docks is Charles Lauder. And 15, we've got here this sealed collection of prophecies associated with Southcott, and that idea that was going to be opened in this national crisis is the Southcott box, or Joanna Southcott's box. And there were to be, as your bonus point, is 24 Church of England bishops were to be in the room when it was opened. Now, that never happened. I'm really working on the Joanna Southcott stuff at the moment, so that has been quite fun. I hope you're enjoying it. If you haven't watched them, then I would go back and watch it. There's 2 up at the moment. So, which major 20th century question 16 British evangelical preacher was widely known as the Doctor? That's Martin Lloyd-Jones. He was born in the 19th century, just about born in 1899. Apologies about the spelling of Martin there. And then question 17, what Protestant movement is often described as stressing these 4 things of conversionism, biblical authority, the cross, and activism? That is evangelicalism. And then these 2 people, the 18th century figures that were sort of central to the whole of its early growth in Britain are John Wesley and George Whitfield. I certainly think that those 2 are a bit of a mixed bag, but maybe we'll get to that a bit in a bit more detail in the future. But question 18 is the 19th century Church of England movement associated with these 3 people, Keble, Pusey, and Newman. And the idea was recovering Anglicanism's Catholic identity. It's called the Oxford movement. It sort of stems out of the national apostasy sermon in 1833. Then you've got the answer to the first part for 2 points. In the second part, which is Joseph Smith, is the founder of Mormonism, really. He's, associated with the whole of it right up until he gets killed in the 1840s. And that is incorrect. Whoever put this together, me, is a bit of a wally, because that is incorrect, because Moroni first appeared in 1820 and the Book of Mormon was first published in 1830. So if you put 1830, if you are generous to yourself, you should give yourself a point because that's what it says. But the real answer is 1820. And the final question is, what phrase can be used for theology that's shaped by endurance when it's under severe pressure? Now, a few times I've been calling that survival theology, but it seems that survival theology has links to other things of a more progressive um, theology. So I'm actually going to start calling it this no exit theology. It's that idea that you're under pressure and you've got no other way out. You've got nowhere to go. You cannot do anything. And it's at that moment that maybe survival theology, I would use it to say that you just all you can do is cling to God and you've got no way out of your situation, and your only hope is to be found in Christ. So instead of survival theology, I'm actually going to start calling it um, no exit theology, but it's actually a one exit theology because your only exit is through Christ. So here we are. Here's a score guide. This is what I would say. If you've got these points, then you're in those sort of areas. I do hope that you enjoyed this quiz. A bit of a light relief, really, and we will get back to the heavy work. I think the next video coming up is probably on the next long video is probably on Moroni. And then we need to be looking at Darwin and F.D. Maurice. And also, I definitely need to catch up on some ritualism. But I would ask you just, thanks for being around. Stay with me and bear with me because, and just to point out, it really is just me. So I'm doing, as much as I can and thinking as much as I can. And I would ask for your patience in replying to you. And I do promise that I do read everything you put up. But in the meantime, go back and watch some videos that you maybe haven't seen on topics that aren't what drew you to this channel. And I hope you enjoyed this quiz, and God bless.